Hello and welcome to D&D with High School Students presents the B Team. I am here with me, because I'm here. That was stupid. And then Jenny is playing the character known as Capella, who is a fallen ASMR.
Cavalier fighter.
A cavalier, a fighter. And then we have Jordan, who is playing Arya, the Goliath. Okay, so where we left off. You guys had tracked the cavalry down quite a ways in the direction of the small village where you found them. Everything in the town seemed to be intact. Nobody had been, slain. There was no evidence of any battle or anything like that. So curiously, you kind of look around. You find out that, in fact, they are in town and that they were hanging out in this kind of large town hall, which is sort of like a mix between an administrative building for the sheriff of this particular area and also kind of like a meeting spot, like a little bit like a tavern. You go in and you guys are kind of peeking in and you discover that all these knights are hanging out, no weapons, no armor. They look like they're, just relaxing, talking, having drinks, kind of hanging out. So as you're kind of peeking in on this scene, that's where we're going to pick up. So, what do you do? Oh, and I forgot, there's stables. And you when you were peeking around, you noticed that there are indeed at least 24 heavy war horses who have been stabled there. All their armor and barding and all that stuff is adjacent to each stall where the horses are, but these are definitely not, horses from this village. These are definitely large, heavy war horses.
Okay, so while we're outside, before we go in, I'm just gonna pull her off to the side and be like, okay, we need some kind of plan. Are we gonna go in there and talk to them? Because I feel like if we bring up the fact that we just saw them, the scene where they murdered a bunch of people, that they maybe won't be so friendly towards us.
And I'll respond that I don't trust those paladins with anything, and I don't know, no matter what, they're gonna lie to us. And the second that we walk in there and the second we talk to them, there's gonna be a confrontation. And with the entire paladin group there, this isn't a great place to start a confrontation, especially with all these townsfolk around. We don't want to start a huge trouble right now.
I think the idea that I had was to go in there, pretend that maybe we're just new in town, we're just kind of walking around and we heard this commotion and we're wondering what a bunch of paladins from up north, are they north of here?
You guess based on what you saw, because you were able to see, the leather and the plates on their horses, and they are all stamped with the symbol of the capital.
Okay.
So they are, the Mukatis Janchilar are basically the holiest paladin order. They're like the knights, the paladins that are typically based in the capital city of Poitex Shahar, but they travel all over the theocracy, usually fighting barbarians and quelling bandits and other issues like that.
Okay, so I think we should just go in there and pretend to just be wondering what they're doing in town, since it seems pretty quiet around here. And then afterwards, if they're, not causing too much trouble, I think we should just have a talk about what we're gonna do afterwards.
Right, and just no matter what we do, we have to keep casual, because they have to assume nobody saw what they did. And nobody would even believe if you went and told them that this noble order would do something like that.
If they thought that people were suspicious of them, they would have hidden the bodies or done something, so.
While you're talking, both of you make a perception roll.
10.
19.
So you're kind of talking and you're explaining what you were literally just explaining, and over her shoulder, you notice one of them walking out of the front door, and he seems hammered. Like he can barely stand, and he's like carrying a bottle of something, and he's walking, and he's like leaving and walking down the street.
Let's follow him. Let's just try to
Okay.
see if we can pull him to the side. He's not with everybody else. See what we can get out of him if he's already drinking, you know?
Okay. So we're just gonna follow him, and we're
Okay.
gonna I'll raise my hand up and I'll say, "Hey," and just kind of try to get his attention.
Okay. Well, the first attempt, he's clearly, he like looks around and is too drunk to figure out who is talking to him, so he keeps walking. And you could kind of see that he's like walking diagonally across the road, and there's another inn and tavern, and he seems to be walking towards it.
Can I can I use thaumaturgy and make my voice like really loud and be
Yes.
like, "Hey,"
All right.
and stop him?
You do that, and he's like, huh? What? And he looks around, and he like looks at you two.
And I'll just
And
kind of
he's like-
motion.
You're really big. You might be the biggest woman I've ever seen. Yeah. I like big girls. Why don't you come with me for a drink at that inn over there? I mean over there. That one. Is a good inn. Let's go have a drink.
Okay. And then I'll grab him by the shoulder and we'll just.
So he's like walking with you, and he's like, I don't know if you know this, but I'm a knight, and very famous. You will have the pleasure of my company tonight for sure. Ha ha. And he's like, you're like, wow, he's been drinking all day long. Like, even when he's not talking, you could just smell alcohol all over him.
Okay.
So he's still kind of walking. Are you walking with him, like kind of helping him walk towards that inn, or do you change his course? Where are you going in?
Do we want to sit him down in the bar and just talk to him?
Yeah, just get him, as long as he's
Okay.
drinking, he won't suspect anything.
Okay, yeah. So we'll be very friendly and
Okay.
we'll just lead him towards him.
So you guys basically get him up to the front porch of this bar, and then you go in the bar. It's not like a rowdy, loud bar, but there are like a fair amount of people, and there's some guy kind of in the back corner playing like a small harp. So there's like some music going on and glasses clinking and people eating food and stuff. But you find a table that's a little more off to the side, like a small, 4-person table. So you guys sit down there, and he sits down and he's like, what would you ladies like to drink? I have coin. I'm very well compensated for my great battle prowess. He's like reaching around in his pockets, and he pulls out like 2 gold pieces, which is a crazy amount of gold. Like, and he's like, wench, we need drinks and food. So like moments later, a serving girl comes by, and she's like, well, greetings. What can I bring you for your refreshments? We have a small selection of some ales. We also have some honey mead that we make here in town, and we might have a few bottles of wine. He's like, bring it all. And she's like, and she sees the gold coins in his hands, and she's like, why, yes, my lord. So he kind of waits happily. So, what's your names? My name is Carver, because I carve my enemies apart. That's my nickname. How about you?
I'm known around the streets as Bearheart.
Earhart. Are you a ranger? You ever do any scouting?
Sometimes, not really. That's not really my specialty.
Right.
And then I just kind of like,
And what about you? You're awfully silent. That's okay, though. I like the silent type.
Yeah. Well, I go by Capella.
Right. Capella and Bearheart. And you're not sisters? No. Traveling companions?
something along those lines.
I see. Well, it's good to meet you. Just around that time, the serving girl comes back with a round of drinks. It's basically like a sampler. Like you have a glass of wine, a mug of ale, and a smaller glass of mead, and there's bread and cheese and some don't know, salami, summer sausage. There's just like a little snack tray basically. So he digs right in and he's like, help yourselves, ladies, and he's eating and stuff, and he drinks and he kind of spills some of the drink on himself because he's hammered. So, let's get to the bottom of this. How long are you going to be in town? We're only here for one night, so I want to make sure that it's an extravagant one. We should do something amazing tonight.
Why are you only in town for one night?
Well, perhaps you didn't notice, but I'm one of the Jangchalar. Yes, that's right. The greatest order of knights to ever ride Cabo Kailish. We are moving on. The fun is over. Back to the capital. So, we should make tonight an amazing night. I have a wonderful room with a big bed. Plenty of room for both of you. And by the way, he's human. So he's smaller than you. He's about the same size as you.
Well, I would love to hear more about your travels. Have you been on the road for a long time?
Roll persuasion.
Okay. Persuasion. 4. Dang it.
He's like, travel, so boring, love. So boring. It's weary. That's what I can say. For now, weary. It'd be nice to be back in the capital. Each one of us, has a well-appointed small home in the capital. Very cozy. You should come to the capital sometime. I throw extravagant parties when I'm not in service. How about you, dear? Ever been to the capital?
Oh, I haven't been to the capital much. I just haven't heard much about that capital.
Well, let me make a persuasion roll. He's like, well, the capital is huge. Thousands, tens of thousands of people, of course, always busy. We have been deployed and on the road for quite some time, so it's been months since I've been back. Missed the equinox, one of the best festivals. So much good partying to do, but, well, it'll be good to get back anyway. So, what say we finish this round of drinks and then go back to my inn? Does this awkward moment of silence really happen?
Probably, yeah, it probably does happen.
He's like, I'm not feeling your love, dears. Maybe you didn't hear me the first time. I am a knight of the Jangchalar. A knight. To be with me would be like being bestowed a gift. One of the greatest warriors of the region. Now, if you're not interested, I'll find someone else who is.
We are interested. I think maybe we just want to get to know you a little bit better.
I'll let you pick this one. Deception or persuasion.
Okay, deception or persuasion. They both suck, so we're going to go with persuasion. Oh my god.
He's like, I'm hearing the words that are coming out of your lips, but I'm not believing them, love. So, enjoy the drinks and the food. It's on me. He leaves 2 gold on the table. He stands up and he's like, I'm going to head out. Good evening, ladies. And he walks out. On a up note, you guys haven't had a solid meal off the road. So when the serving girl brings back like turkey and potatoes and carrots, you're like, yeah, this is food. And it's not trail rations. And this is hot food and fresh. So you guys get a free meal out of it.
That's pretty good.
Okay, so what else?
Okay.
Let's say maybe a half an hour goes by. Okay. You hear like, as the evening progresses into early night, you hear more noise in the street, like more like, laughing and people talking loudly because they're drunk, that kind of stuff. You look out the window of the tavern that you're in, and you notice that like there's at least 4 or 5 other knights who are accompanied by various people. Some of them are in bigger groups, some of them are kind of heading off on their own.
Oh, so I turned over and say, listen, this is going to be their last night in town, and after that they're just going back to the capital. So if we really want to get any more info, any intake on what's going on before we head out, because once they go to the capital, we're going to have to head back and look after those footprints that we saw. But if we have this one last night where they're all probably just as focused as our good friend before, so if we get out there and play their games, there's got to be something that we can figure out.
So our plan is to go out and seduce some knights.
What better?
And then I grab like the ale or whatever and I just take a huge drink out of it and
Okay.
then slam it
Same.
down on the table.
Okay. So you guys kind of finish up. The serving girl comes and collects the money. You guys head out, and you notice that the double doors to the town hall across the street are open, but it doesn't sound like anybody's in there. Like you hear more people like kind of hanging out at different spots outside on the street than you do in there. There's still light on. There's obviously some kind of lanterns in there. Do you guys have dark vision?
I do.
I do not.
Make a perception check.
15.
15?
Yeah.
Okay. You notice when like as you're looking in that building, there's a window kind of off in the far corner, and it may be a separate room from the main room where there isn't light on, but you notice someone moving in there, like moving around. It's dark, but you notice someone moving.
So I turn to her and I tell her that there's somebody far in that building seen moving. So maybe this is a good opportunity while they're distracted to just go in, take a peek, do some investigating.
Yeah, let's head out that way. Should one of us kind of keep watch on the outside while one of us goes in and sees what's going on?
Yeah. If it's already, I can go in.
You can see better in the dark, and you are smaller than I am.
Yeah, hopefully I don't stand out too much, because I hate these nights, but I can talk my way out of a few things.
And I'm 9 feet tall with no social skills.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so you take up like kind of a spot where you could see the window that she's, the place where she's going, but you can also kind of keep an eye on everything. How do you go in? Do you go in through the main doors that are open, or do you try to like look around the rest of the building for other entrances? Or do you just go to the window?
I think can I search for if there's any other
Yeah.
entrances?
You make a perception.
15.
Okay. You notice that there's around a small bend around the building, there's like a side door that you maybe assume is for like maybe the kitchen or deliveries or, leading to the cellar. You're not really sure, but there's definitely another door around the side.
Okay. I want to attempt to go in through the side door.
Okay. Make a stealth check.
Stealth. So I have a +2 on stealth.
Okay,
Is that
so
a
it's not a
natural one?
catastrophic failure.
Okay.
You open the door and it's like squeak, and it's like the loudest creaky door you've ever opened, and you're like, oh. And you stop. You wait. You don't hear anything. And after you like wait a few moments, you open the door the rest of the way and you go in, and it is indeed a small walk-in pantry where there's a lot of there's flour and just dried goods and stuff like that. But then there's a little doorway, no door, but a doorway that leads to a kitchen. Nobody seems to be in the kitchen. It's a mess. There's cups, mugs, glasses everywhere. platters, empty plates. But then you also notice that there's a small hallway, and at the end of that hallway is 2 more doors. By the direction you're in, one door might lead into the big open room where you saw them all hanging out, but you're not sure. The other door might lead into where you saw that window that was a dark room where somebody was moving around.
I want to go down that hallway.
Make another stealth check.
So that's 8.
Okay. You're not loud, but you're not quiet. It's like normal walking sounds. You get to the end of the hallway, and the doorway to the right leads into this big room. There's no one in there. You see, like, there's a couple lanterns on. There are tables and chairs, and it's more dishes. It just looks like they partied here and then just, like, left. And then you notice there's a door which is closed to the left.
I'm going to try to get in through that left door.
Okay. You test the knob, and it seems to be unlocked.
All right. I'm going to try to, as quietly as possible, try to get in through this door.
Okay.
Is that another stealth check?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 12.
There you go. All right. You open the door slowly a little bit, no creaking. You kind of open it a little more. Peek in. And again, the room is dark. There's only a tiny bit of like moonlight coming through the window. But you see someone sitting at a desk. It looks like an office. There are built-in bookshelves on the wall. There's a lot of books and stacks of parchment and papers and stuff. And there's a desk. And you see somebody sitting at the desk. So you're kind of walking in and you're like seeing them from the side. And it's definitely a humanoid, long blonde hair, and they seem to be like searching through papers on the desk.
I think I definitely don't want to confront this person. Because they could be part of this is, but they might also have information. Do I notice anything else about them besides just like the blonde hair?
They are wearing what you would determine to be like very expensive clothes, like the kind that nobles would wear. But again, this is all in the dark. There's no lanterns. You know what? I'll give you one perception roll to see if you notice any additional detail.
Dark vision.
Yeah, it's 6.
Long blonde hair, kind of covering their face. So you can't really see details because you're looking at it from the side. And very elaborate, like, silk shirt, embroidered, like, tunic, with like gold thread around the, around all the edges, like just very, very expensive clothing.
I think I'm gonna risk it. So I think I'm gonna, and you're not busting through, just be like, oh, like, 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 excuse me, is this where the bathroom is?
Okay, good.
Excuse me.
Make a deception roll. I thought you were going to be like, are you supposed to be here?
No.
And then that would be intimidation. But make a deception roll. Let's see if you pull it off.
Deception. I have a +2 for charisma. Come on.
Ooh.
Good.
Is that a 19?
So
Yes.
yeah, 19. So 21 total. So you come in. Of course, there's no light switch. So you just come in the dark and you're like, excuse me, is this where the bathroom is? And now the person turns around, like does like a hair whip to look at you, right? And now you see a little more closely that this is a male and an elf. You see, like, as he does the hair whip, you see like his pointed ears. And he looks up and he's like, no, it's not, but perhaps I could help you.
Oh, and I'm just kind of like feeling like, well, I was with my friend and we were partying, we were having a great time, and I lost her. I don't know where bathroom went.
Oh, well, I could show you where it is. I'm sorry it's so dark in here. Let me light up a lantern. One moment. He looks around the room. He's like, where is that lantern? Oh, right here. Goes over to a small shelf, picks up a lantern, he kind of turns something, and then he has this little wick, sticks it in, lights the lantern, slowly turns the gas up, and now the room is full of light, and you see this. So
Okay,
you
I
see
see
like
the light
little
going.
flashes, and then you see like some light kind of fade up, which you're assuming is a lantern. So you could see that Capella's in this room now with this blonde elf who looks very well dressed. He holds the lantern up and he's like, "Oh, aren't you distinguished looking? I'm pleased to meet you.
Thanks.
What's your name?"
I go by Capella in these parts. And you?
"Oh, you may call me Finn."
I like that. Finn.
"Yes. Come this way." He's like, well, he leads you down the hallway, back out through the kitchen, back to the side door, and he's like, he points to this small outhouse, and he's like, the facility is right over there. You're welcome to use it. Here, you can take the lantern. It's probably dark in there.
Thank you.
It was a
kind
pleasure to
sir.
meet you, Capella. He walks back inside. You notice he stops, like as you see him walking, he stops in the pantry and he sees like a thing of beef jerky, and he's like, and he like takes it and just starts eating it, and he walks back down the hall towards the office. So you see now, because where you're at across the street, you could see the side yard. You see her like standing halfway between the door where she went on the side and this outhouse, and then you also see, like a moment later, you see that blonde elf. Oh no, you don't.
Yeah, because it's dark.
Make a
there.
perception roll.
Okay. Can
It's
I
not
roll
always
better
about
than a
sight.
5 today? Can I? 10
There you
plus
go,
2, 12.
Okay. You see just a shadow of somebody re-enter that office
Okay. In that
through
case,
the moonlight.
yeah.
You just see like a glimpse of some movement.
Okay, I'll just keep my eye on it.
Okay.
Like I see her and I like acknowledge her
So
presence, but
what
I
do you
keep
do?
looking.
Do you actually go to the outhouse, or do you go back to
I go back to,
area?
yeah.
Okay.
What happened?
Do you extinguish the lantern, or do you keep it lit? I mean, it is nighttime.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
walk around the streets with a lantern.
No.
And it's actually a pretty nice lantern. So if you just wanted to jack it, like,
No, I'm just going to extinguish that and put that back in my supplies. That's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
you can write it down. Or you can give it to her, since she doesn't have dark vision.
Oh, yeah. That probably. Yeah, I'll give it to Area. That's
Okay,
when I need
write
that.
down the lantern. It's a pretty nice. So you guys are kind of standing over on the corner of this stoop of the blacksmith shop, which is closed. So like you're just kind of hanging out there, and people are, in the street talking, walking, partying. There are a couple inns that seem to be pretty vibrant. You look back through the window and you see that guy is still back in there, and now it's more like he's like papers are just going
Quickly
aside.
rummaging
and-
through stuff?
Yeah, like he's like going through, and it looks like he's picked up his pace. Like he's no longer sitting, he's standing over the desk. You see him like whip back around to a bookshelf. He starts like throwing books on the ground, looking furiously for something.
How many entrances are there in this building? In that building that you were in?
2 that you know of. You didn't scout out the other side, but there's definitely like the back like kitchen entrance off the side, and then the front, the main double door entrance. Which, by the way, those doors are still wide open.
Okay.
Like, you see some random like street cat just walk in.
Okay. If I don't think that he's gonna go through these main entrances, so I don't think we should go in there. But I think that we need to keep an eye on him.
Do you
So-
tell her everything that you interacted
Yeah.
with him?
I just share the experience, like his name.
Okay. So I I think we should keep posted at each exit, not like near each exit, or not at each exit, but near them, and just keep an eye and see which way this guy leaves. And we should follow him, because if we want to interrogate him, any information, we can't do it in the middle of all these partying people on the street.
Yeah. I also want to ask Aria about if you're familiar with elves, if you know anything about where elves might be from.
So in Kabul Kailish, because the theocracy in this country, this region, is kind of in the middle, the south end, but in the middle of the island, of the continent, you have quite a mix, right? Because it's kind of a nexus between other countries. So you have a pretty diverse range of humans, elves, dwarves, gnomes, halflings, half-elves, dragonborn, pretty populated. The kind of what I'll call like the less common races would be like the Goliaths, the Tabahi, the cat people. So those are kind of fewer and further between.
Okay. So I'll just reply,
Elves are pretty common. Like
Yeah.
you could find elves in any town.
When I lived with my tribe, I obviously didn't know these many people, and the only people that I've seen are on my travels. So this area, there's a lot of people I've never seen before. But I still think that he's looking for something, and I want to know what he's looking for.
Yeah, I don't trust him.
Make a
either.
perception check. As you're talking.
2.
Should I make one too?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you roll really high, you might notice this.
Okay. Perception
Kind of
is-
one of those.
Oh wait,
corner of your
perception is
eye
plus
things.
3. Hold on. 12.
Okay. You're talking about this, and you don't see anything through the window. You don't see any movement anymore. You don't have dark vision.
Okay. I think we should head over there. I can't see anything in there, but if
You
he's-
look when she mentions this, and you don't see any movement anymore.
Okay. So we're gonna pick up our pace and head, like, not like running over there, but just like walking a little
Fast walk.
faster than
Okay.
normal.
Which door are you going to?
Do you want to go to opposite sides? Towards the back or the sides?
Mm.
So like front or kitchen door?
Oh,
We
okay.
should just go to kitchen, since that's probably the most likely place he might come out of.
Okay,
Okay.
so you go back to the kitchen door. Right around that, like literally as you're coming around the corner of the building into the side yard where the kitchen door is, he comes out the side door. And he doesn't seem to notice you at first.
Okay.
Like he's walking
Okay.
like away
Okay.
from the building.
I'll just like stick my hand out and stop you from walking, and then just wait for him to go, and then we'll follow behind.
So he's walking and he's cutting across the backyard to another block in the village where there's other buildings.
Okay.
And there's a small, like, picket fence.
Okay.
When he gets to the picket fence, he just, like, hops the picket fence, and then he looks both ways. And he's, like, looking both ways down the street, and then he whips around and he looks at you guys.
Okay.
And
Okay.
he's like, "Why are you following me, Capella? And who's your friend?"
This is Aria. This is found my girlfriend again.
Aria, pleasure to meet you. I don't come across your kind very often, in towns at least.
I'm more towards the mountains. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. I actually been looking for someone who's familiar with the mountains.
For what exactly?
You two don't by chance work for anyone currently, do you?
Only ourselves.
Oh, good. Might you be interested in perhaps joining a company for a little adventure? There is ample reward. It's very well funded. Oh, by the way, my name is Finn. Pleasure to meet
Nice to
you.
meet you. Well, shake his hand.
You know what? We should leave this backyard before anyone sees us. Join me, please.
Okay. I'll follow.
So you hop the little fence. You walk about 2 blocks away, and there's like a much more quiet kind of block, and you see a small inn, and he's like, I have a room in this inn. Perhaps we could have a drink and chat about potential business endeavor.
Sounds good to me.
Excellent. So you go in. There are like a handful of people. It's not busy at all. Like there's no music. It's like quiet, you know. He walks over to a table and he's like, just drinks. Have you already had dinner?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. So have I. Just some drinks, please. So the serving girl comes by a few moments later with some basic ales and stuff, and he raises a toast. He's like, to prosperity. He drinks. He's like, I'm just wondering, I like to get to know people, but it strikes me curious that I ran into Capella back there at the town hall. Were you also celebrating with the knights, with the Jangchalar?
Celebrating is a word to use.
Okay. I myself was not invited to their party, but let's just say I have an interest in their activities.
We might have similar interest in their activities.
Oh, really? So, you must be extremely loyal to the theocracy then.
I, for one, cannot stand for the ruling powers. I don't trust what they're doing in general. That's just how I am.
And you? I assume that you're from one of the Southeast Mountain tribes, based on your tattoos. Am I correct? You're like,
You are.
yeah, damn.
Yeah. Impressive.
Like, normal white people don't know that. So he's like, so it would stand to reason that you don't necessarily abide by the ruling power of the theocracy and their restrictions that they put on the lifestyles of your people and their traditions, as well as their hunting lands.
I don't answer to the theocracy.
Very, very interesting. I feel as if I could trust you. You see, I've been following the Jangchalar for quite some time. They're searching for something. They've been sent on a very important mission and they've failed so far. Not sure if you know how that works, but the Jangchalar are a holy order. They don't take orders from anyone in the theocracy other than His Holiness Kor Paigamlar, the leader of Kabul Kailash. Not sure if you knew that. They answer to no one except for His Holiness. Interesting, isn't it? Above the law, if you will. Now, I find that interesting because, well, frankly, it gives them the freedom to do whatever they want. Now, as a holy order, of course, they're bound by their honor and by their sacred beliefs. But what if they were told to do something that went against their normal laws and against their belief system? Would they have to obey it? Or would they refuse an order from their supreme leader? What do you think?
They would never. I can't imagine a group like that. They all just follow each other. They follow the biggest person in line. That's all they do is followers. Can't imagine they'd stick by their own morals.
Well, if the Jang Shalar are a holy order, do you believe that they would slaughter innocent people? I mean, certainly that can't align with their belief system.
I don't know what kind of beliefs they have, but they're clearly not good intentions if you...
They believe in law and order and good and righteousness.
You said you've been following them for a while,
I have.
so I assume you saw what caught our eye in the mountain pass up north.
Really? You came across the camp.
We did.
Is that what led you here?
The brutality to those innocent people by a group that is supposed to be bound by law was too much for us to take, so we came here.
Then perhaps destiny has smiled upon us. I too came for the same reason. But moreover, I came to answer that question of why. Why would a holy order, which is renowned not just in Kabul Kailish, but throughout all of Nuaf Otmai, why would they do such a horrific act? Did they do it of their own volition? Did they do it out of selfishness or greed? Did they do it because they were corrupted? Or were they ordered to do it?
Well, I don't think that they were ordered to do it because, and I just kind of like point out on the street and I'm like, they all seem to be having a grand time after slaughtering many innocent people. So they must be.
He reaches into his cloak and he pulls out a piece of paper that's rolled up. He lays it out on the table between you two and he unrolls it. Look for yourself. This is what I found tonight. You guys examine the scroll. First thing that you see is that at one time this scroll was bound by a wax seal. Make a history check.
16.
18.
You both immediately recognize the seal as the holy seal of Kabul Kailish. It's the seal of the theocracy. As you look at the scroll, you notice in perfect penmanship that these are military marching orders that delineate a location and a specific time at which the Jang Chalar are to intercept a force of enemies from the Mantirum and to recover a very specific thing that is referenced as a tier, like T-E-A-R, like crying tear, and that if there is any opposition, to slay anyone who opposes. And at the very bottom, it's signed Kor Paigambar, chosen of water.
Terrible.
There were no enemies on that mountain pass. They were just innocent people. And now they're all dead, looking for some thing. It doesn't matter what it is.
He takes it back, he rolls it up, puts it in his cloak. Area, Capella. Perhaps it is time I shared something with you. I am part of a group who, for many years, has been investigating the hypocrisy of many of the nations of this continent. There are conspiracies at work that are far beyond what any commoner could possibly imagine. There are secret alliances in play. There are leaders who don a face of righteousness for their people, and yet that is only a mask, hiding something much more sinister underneath it. My small group of allies cannot possibly defeat this web of intricate lies and evil machinations, but we are attempting to investigate it and expose it whenever possible. And perhaps most importantly, trying to stop them from achieving their sinister goals. I tell you this because it is only appropriate before I ask you if you are interested in joining our company. That is why it was essential that I determine your loyalties. You see, many people do not even consider thinking critically about the ruling powers. They just assume that their leaders are benevolent. While there may be some good folk amongst the theocracy, surely there are also, as I mentioned, secrets and conspiracies in the shadows. We have been able to uncover more than we bargained for, thanks to the sloppiness that you both witnessed in regards to this recent ambush. And what we have uncovered is, to the west, part of this conspiracy is now being laid out and unfolded. For what, we are not sure, but we do know something. That Kor Paigambar himself has sent one of his relatives as an emissary to the monastery at Kadimki Kala, near the mountains. What she's doing there and what she is supposed to communicate or retrieve, we are not sure. But I'm heading there tomorrow to find out. However, at the same time, we discovered that the Jang Shalar have hidden something very important that they looted from that ambush. We think it might be the tier that was referenced, but we don't know what that means. It's obviously some kind of code word. But they have hidden something in the shrine to Ayuk, the god of earth. Unfortunately, I cannot be in two places at once. Obviously, I have pressing matters, and I must head literally across the country to the far northwest corner of the country if I am to intercept the princess and find out what she's doing there. So I ask you, would you be interested in possibly investigating the old shrine of Ayuk and seeing if you could find whatever it was, this tier that was hidden there? I can't promise that it would be easy. I know it's the initial shrine is guarded by people, but I've been told that the shrine is built into the mountain near the waterfall, and that there may be passages, catacombs, and caves beyond it, which lead to how far into the mountain, I do not know. But there is a way, if you are able to recover this tier, that we can communicate. Many of my allies in our group are talented with magic. If you are willing to join, we can imbue upon you a magical tattoo that will allow you to communicate a one-way sending once per day to anyone else who bears that tattoo. He pulls up his sleeve, like he holds his arm low to the table so only you guys can see it. He pulls up his sleeve. And what you see basically looks like a Medusa head, except instead of like a woman's face, it's a skull. But there's like snake tendrils coming out of the head like a Medusa, but instead of snakes, it's like the bones of snakes. And the snake skulls and fangs. So it's basically like a skeletal Medusa head. And he shows you, he reveals this tattoo, and then he brings his sleeve down. I will let you discuss amongst yourselves, but you must choose, because tonight is the only night where this decision can be made before we leave. The artist is with me. If you choose to join us, he can imbue the tattoo on you. He goes, I'm going to the outhouse. I will return. He gets up, leaves. So it's just you guys at the table.
So,
As far as I can tell, this man seems to be truthful. No mere person would risk talking ill of the theocracy as a means of deceivery. I doubt, because there's no way he could have known what we saw. Who else would be traversing those paths and have seen that kind of thing without having to have that intention?
yeah. If he can promise that we'll be taking down these people who have done this to innocent people, then I will tentatively follow them. I will go wherever you go, because I don't know if I trust them yet, but I trust you. And if we're headed to the Temple of Ayuk, and I kind of like pull out my holy symbol, and I just kind of like, then you'll need me there. I know my way around.
As do I. I can trust. I may not know a lot about this area, but I can trust if you are there, then I think that we can survive this. And as long as we can bring justice for those people and bring justice to these countries that need it, to these innocent folk that want to live their lives without this kind of hypocrisy and tyranny, then I'm willing to put my life on the line for it.
Agreed.
A few moments later, he returns to the table. I assume I've given you ample time to discuss. I know it is a weighty matter, and if there were more time, I would be happy to show you more of the secrets that we have uncovered. But I do not have an office here. I'm simply on the road, much like yourselves. But if you have made a choice, regardless of your choice, if you choose to join us, I will be pleased. If you choose not to join us, then I will leave you in peace and be leaving in the morning. Have you made a decision?
We have. We will join you and your group to be able to recover this tier.
Excellent. I see strength in you. Though you are young, I feel that you have already done and seen many things that others have not. Please join me upstairs. The artist is there. He is ready. So you guys you go upstairs. He's on the top floor, third floor. Go down the hallway, last room on the hallway. You notice a woman seated in a chair outside of the hallway. There's a small table, there's a candle burning, and she's reading a book, and she has this like amazingly fancy hat with a feather, and she's got this like cool blouse with like this cool long knee-length jacket and knee-high boots. She kind of looks like a sailor from the western coast, which you don't often see, like that fashion, that style, in the middle of remote rural Kabul Kailish. But she's looking, and she looks over and sees him and you guys. She stands up and pulls out a key and unlocks the door and opens the door. And he's like, "Thank you." She nods at you guys and then sits back down and continues reading her book. You guys go in, and you see it's probably the nicest room in the inn. It's a very large room. There are 4 beds. You see equipment and supplies, like traveling equipment and supplies, backpacks, bedrolls, stacks of like dried rations, the kind of stuff that you'd expect to see from a group that's traveling. But the only other person you see in the room is a young-looking You guess human, maybe half elf, although because he has long hair, you can't really tell if his ears are pointed. These like very fine kind of pointed features, and he's kind of like a darker tan colored flesh tone, and not bulky or anything like that, kind of like slight of build. And he looks up at you, and he looks at Finn, and Finn nods, and he's like, they have accepted, they are ready. And he looks at you both, and he nods. And then he looks at you, and he looks at you, and he points at you. And you see him like unroll this leather thing, and he's got all these needles and different inks and stuff. And Finn says, Manese has selected you. He will work around your existing tattoos to weave this into them.
Understood.
Okay, so you sit down.
Yep.
He doesn't say anything. He just beckons you. He takes your
Just
arm.
like take my right arm and like.
Yeah, he basically finds your arm, finds a spot, and then he begins inking. So for the next like hour and a half, he manually does all this line work, and then he goes back and he starts filling it in and stuff. And towards the end, after like 3 hours, what's your constitution?
12.
You're like sweating. It kind of like after a while it burns, it hurts, but he keeps going. He works really fast, but also very detailed. And finally, towards the end, when it seems like everything is done, he reaches into another pouch, and you notice that he pulls out this tiny little vial with some kind of black powder. And he takes like a tiny little measuring spoon, and he measures out like this exact amount, and he actually like uses another tool to like scrape off the excess back into the vial, and he puts a cork in it. And then he spills it over your arm. And at that point, you take a hit point of damage, and your arm burns fiercely, but you see the powder spread itself out over the tattoo, almost like a coat that seals it. And it burns, you suffer pain, and then it seems to fade. The pain fades away. He looks up and smiles at you, and then he points to you. So same process. After 3 hours, same thing. Black powder over the tattoo. You take a point of damage, and burns, and then it's sealed. And then he leans back. He sighs. He cleans his tools, puts them all away, rolls them up, and then he goes over to one of the beds and literally just lays down. Finn is like, welcome. I feel as if you will help us uncover great things. In the morning is probably the best time to go to the shrine before any pilgrims go there to make any prayers. There may be a caretaker, but you should be able to slip past him or her into the lower level of the shrine, where I believe you can find an entrance to those catacombs of which I spoke. Again, I have no idea where the Jangchalar hid this tier, but from as far as I could tell, I'm certain that they made a stop at the shrine before coming back to town. And I searched everywhere, and there was nothing to be found in the town hall, so I believe that they hid it somewhere. I bid you farewell. If and when you have found the tier, concentrate on my name. And now I must tell you my greatest secret, for my name is not Finn, it is only a name that I go by. We must tell each other our true names in order to use the tattoos. My name is Lord Finoop. Remember, Lord Finoop. Touch your tattoo and concentrate on my name, and it will activate the sending.
Understood.
And you, Area, what is your full name, so that I might contact you?
My full name
Yes.
is Arya Uthenu Kavi. if you must know, most people don't call me by my tribe name anymore.
I must know it for the sending. You see, he writes it down. Dip some ink. And you, Capella.
And I was born as Capella Rusafel.
See, he scrolls that down. I hope we will meet again soon. But use the tattoo wisely if you have recovered the tear. And be careful who you trust. As I said, there are mysteries, secrets, and lies woven throughout all of these kingdoms. You will know who you can trust by this. And he points to the tattoo. For now, I bid you adieu. He opens the door and ushers you guys out. And you go back to your inn. And it's late at night and you're tired, so you go to bed. And that's where we're going to end this episode of the B Team with Jennie and Jordan. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Blah, 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 I'm talking. Cut to me, thank you. Thanks for liking and subscribing. And tune in next time, because we're going to uncover what is, in fact, secretly below the shrine.